Hello, my name is Stefan Istvan, and I am applying to a law firm called Law Russ Law Firm. And I am speaking to Mr. a legal recruiter. I am a sociology major at Washington State University, and I will be completing my bachelor's degree, if everything goes according to plan, in May. My interests upon completion involve the further study of international human rights and its applications in law. As discussed in our inclusive leadership textbook, I define leadership within myself, inwardly and outwardly. Insofar as inward leadership is concerned, I consider inward leadership to be curiosity, humility, and courage. Curiosity, as defined by Renee Brown in her discussion around vulnerability in the TED Talk we saw in class, revolved around the concept of letting go of uncertainty, and letting go of the quest for certainty, allowing ourselves to know that we don't know something, and to acknowledge that other people may have the answers we are looking for, and that we should be asking questions and seeking to answer questions when other people ask them of us with politeness and dignity. This leads us to the second element, humility. Humility in this case means acknowledging that we have no way of knowing, that we don't know, that we will make mistakes, that we are imperfect and fallible. By making mistakes and letting people know about our mistakes openly, we encourage them also to avoid hiding their mistakes and avoid exacerbating all of these political turmoils that we have at work related to people trying to seem competitive compared to others. This will help us breed a more horizontal workplace instead of a hierarchical workplace. Courage means having the bravery and the courage to advocate for others. In my Sociology 340 class, hosted by Professor Kmec, who is a colleague of Dr. Hoffman, we learned about the importance of advocating for others as opposed to advocating for ourselves. Professor Kmec explained to us that when we advocate for ourselves, we are often seen as a biased second-person party, whereas when we advocate for others, we are far more likely to be taken seriously, especially since we are advocating for others, we show that there is actual concern for other people and that a certain behavior that may be problematic or harmful of a group of poorly represented minorities is unacceptable in our workplace. Accountability, ownership, and allyship are important parts of outward leadership. Outward leadership consists of accountability, ownership, and allyship. Accountability means being able to set goals for myself and people who I am working with, and helping them acknowledge within me whether I am meeting those goals or not, as well as inspiring and encouraging them as well to meet the goals that they have set for themselves in regards to inclusivity. Ownership means letting people do their job, and this means that I am a sociology major. I know how to do my job of identifying inclusivity issues within an organization, and I know that many people within this law firm also know how to do their job as well. So I'm probably going to avoid micromanaging them in the legal aspects, and I think that it would behoove them to point me in the right direction, but allow me to recognize where potential clients might be who are being underserved legally in our society. Finally, allyship means recognizing our own biases and being able to be transparent and talk about them. Doing so allows us to create an inclusive future, one that I envision will allow everyone to be their full selves. A structural approach to inclusivity includes aligning the interests of everyone involved in society. This means people in positions of management, employees, clients, customers, and people who are yet to be customers, such as people who we advertise to or have not yet had the privilege of working with us yet. Consider that This company, Walrus Law Firm, according to the American Bar Association, is likely 86% non-Hispanic whites. And according to a website called Justin Team, a law firm or a law website, the majority of clients for private law firms are real estate, estate planning, business law, and criminal law. Estate planning, real estate, and business law disproportionately fall under the jurisdiction of white non-Hispanics or Caucasian, according to ionhousing.org and hostinger.indiana. According to sentencingproject.org, people of African ancestry are disproportionately involved in defense cases related to criminal law and are frequently underserved by public defenders. According to our inclusive leadership textbook, shareholders have been the metric by which a business considers itself as doing well or not. However, as a law firm, we are able to better focus on our clients as our shareholders, as well as potentially the rest of society. According to an article by Heidi et al. At hbr.org, titled Why Diverse Teams Are Smarter, we discover that diverse teams are 58% better at recognizing patterns, trends, and discovering previously unknown information, with greater efficiency than less diverse teams. A more diverse range of customers, for example, African Americans, would otherwise receive poorer public defense attorneys appointed to them in, for example, criminal cases, or maybe underserved in civil cases, would benefit by having a law firm such as ours at their behest. According to Louis Gale, who wrote an article on vitana.org titled 13 Big Pros and Cons of Public Defenders, public defenders tend to have more generalized knowledge as opposed to specialized knowledge, tend to have less resources available to them, and tend to be far too busy with an enormous amount of caseloads to focus on one or two particular clients, as well as oftentimes being poorly knowledgeable about civil matters compared to private attorneys. While it is true that taking such almost pro bono work might potentially be financially disadvantageous at first, in doing so we can establish case law and legal precedents that will make serving these particular communities our point of expertise, giving us a tremendous competitive advantage, and encouraging other law firms to follow into our footsteps. This will surely be advantageous financially in the future from a greater range of customers that we are able to serve. Also, according to Cara O'Neill, who is a bankruptcy attorney at her own law office, legal costs can be recouped from defendants, such as, for example, corporations, in cases of discrimination. It is clear that creating a business model for Walrus Law Firm that aligns every single section of our society, from the management to clients and people who we advertise to, will help create a more equitable work environment, nation, and world. Inclusion matters to me because of the tremendous untapped potential at our disposal. Walrus may have poor diversity now, but with all the tremendous help available out there in the world, I feel as part of their legal team that we are capable of changing the world. Why aren't companies like Walrus more diverse? Why don't they have more African American or Muslim or women, for example, in positions of leadership? In a TED Talk by Thomas Camaro Premuzic titled Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders?, we talk about how selecting for traditionally toxic masculine characteristics such as aggression lead to bad leadership, and that this also leads to disproportionately hiring men instead of women. Selecting for traits such as competence, humility, and integrity will create a more diverse workplace by selecting for good leaders. And these leadership traits are actually traits that women excel in, and therefore will naturally bring more women into positions of leadership. Likewise, offering scholarships or opportunities of paid internship to Black people who may be interested in careers in law, or perhaps going to mosques and advocating for Islamic representation at mosques and creating prayer rooms, or using Arabic scripture or Arabic letters and Fusha, which is the international Arabic, will create a welcoming and warm environment for people from other diverse groups who would otherwise look us by. According to our inclusive leadership textbook, we can also restructure our workplace activities, such as, for example, that by considering that women may not be able to drink because they have child rearing responsibilities when they return back home from work. We may also recognize that drinking is haram for many Muslims, and that means equivalent to sinful or bad or forbidden, and may disproportionately affect African Americans who statistically struggle with alcoholism more than other groups, specifically due to the targeting of alcohol companies to poverty-stricken groups, as was discussed in Professor Kmec's Sociology 340 in Social Inequality class. I believe that Walrus Law Firm will benefit from the new talent, fresh perspectives, ease of access, and a glut of untapped financial resources in terms of smoothed out case laws that have been freshly paved with Walrus Law Firm's name on it. Inclusive leadership is the smart choice, and I think I would make a great candidate as Chief Inclusivity Officer at Walrus Law Firm.